Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something absolutely wild. We're setting out on a deeply fascinating investigation into the modern mechanics of geopolitical digital deception. We're looking at a bizarre, almost unbelievable collision between your local town hall and international cyber warfare. Because according to recent threat intelligence reports and deep dive cybersecurity investigations, those heated debates happening right now in your local community, well, they might not be as local as they appear. Okay, let's dive right into this. Have you ever wondered how everyday debates, the kinds of things discussed over morning coffee or in small municipal zoning meetings, might actually be hijacked by invisible foreign networks? Across the country, communities are grappling with the massive, rapid expansion of artificial intelligence. Specifically, we're talking about the giant data centers required to run this new tech. But what happens when foreign adversaries decide to use your town's zoning laws as a literal weapon in a global technological arms race? So, on one side, we have our natural resources, our communities, our beautiful landscapes. On the other, you have the sprawling, massive infrastructure of AI data centers. And let's be absolutely clear right off the bat here, as all our sources heavily emphasize, local concerns about these facilities are incredibly valid. I mean, we're talking about industrial complexes the size of Manhattan being dropped right into rural towns. They require millions of gallons of fresh drinking water just for cooling. They draw immense amounts of high-voltage electricity. In places like Georgia, for example, this has resulted in typical residential customers seeing their electric bills spike by over $500 a year. So these are very real material concerns for any community facing a multi-billion-dollar tech build-out in their own backyard. And because these local concerns are so grounded in reality, we naturally see the organic emergence of grassroots organizing. Take this actual toolkit from an organization called Media Justice. It's titled The People Say No, Resisting Data Centers. Toolkits like this provide everyday citizens with messaging worksheets, case studies, and strategies to stand up to giant tech monopolies to protect their local land, energy, and water. This is what genuine democratic engagement looks like. But here's where the story takes a really dark turn. According to investigations by cybersecurity experts and the Bitcoin Policy Institute, this exact kind of organic, localized energy is incredibly vulnerable. In fact, it is actively being hijacked by state-sponsored actors who have absolutely zero interest in your local environment, but have every interest in stalling American technological progress. So what does this all mean? Well, the absolutely crucial point here is understanding the specific cyber tactic being deployed against these communities. Security experts call it a distributed denial of truth, or a DOT. If you're familiar with a classic DDoS attack where hackers flood a website's servers with fake traffic until it just collapses, a DOT operates on the exact same principle. But instead of targeting computer servers, it targets human consensus. It floods social media algorithms with coordinated, inauthentic behavior to entirely drown out real, local debate. The goal isn't to hack a machine, the goal is to artificially inflate local anxieties and trick lawmakers into believing that a highly manufactured panic is actually a massive grassroots movement of their own constituents. How do you spot a DOT? You'll suddenly see an overnight avalanche of newly created accounts, all echoing the exact same aggressive phrasing about local zoning laws, completely drowning out the actual residents. Let me give you a terrifyingly specific example of how this operates. Researchers recently uncovered an AI-controlled botnet named Green Cicada. This single system managed over 5,000 inauthentic social media accounts. And how do you identify a Green Cicada attack? You look for the spin. The network will take one genuine, hyper-local post about a dropping water table, and within hours perfectly mimic the tone across thousands of fake accounts to manufacture a national-level panic. In the blink of an eye, a legitimate municipal dispute is weaponized into a raging, divisive trend, and investigators, they trace the command architecture of this exact network right back to researchers at Tsinghua University in Beijing. Let's move to the next piece of this and see how it builds, because this deception runs incredibly deep. It operates on 4 distinct tiers, mapped out by threat intelligence from platforms like Meta and Microsoft. It's like a giant puzzle. Up at the top is the surface layer, verified, tax-exempt U.S. nonprofits sharing those activist toolkits, so it looks like authentic Western activism. Beneath that is the infrastructure layer, which consists of massive bot armies like Spamify that instantly share and like those toolkits to gain the algorithms. Then we hit the deception layer, where operatives spoof real news, literally cloning the design of the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal to publish fake articles. Finally, the deepest layer, the AI-generated personas. They use AI to auto-translate state propaganda and generate fake profile pictures so they can seamlessly infiltrate hyper-local spaces like your town's Reddit page or the comments section of your local newspaper. Now, you might be wondering, who is paying for all of this? Running an operation of this magnitude, organizing protests, paying for ads, sustaining this whole media presence, takes staggering amounts of capital. Financial records and a New York Times investigation point heavily to a man named Neville Roy Singham, an American expatriate living in Shanghai. Congressional investigations reveal that Singham's network has funneled an astonishing $285 million into various U.S. nonprofits. The content these nonprofits produce, according to the investigations, closely mirrors the propaganda and geopolitical talking points of the Chinese Communist Party, specifically targeting U.S. semiconductor export controls and AI data centers. But Singham is really just one piece of a much larger picture. Reports actually trace over $2 billion in dark money flowing from the charitable vehicles of foreign billionaires, like Swiss billionaire Hans-Jörg Woz and British billionaire Alan Parker, into these exact same advocacy infrastructures. This money is routed through incredibly complex webs of organizations. So by the time it trickles down to the local level to fund a protest against a data center, the foreign origins of that money are entirely and legally obscured from public view. Let's be real for a second. These aren't just scrappy, independent local protests we're looking at. They are meticulously bankrolled operations. And this brilliantly illustrates a glaring geopolitical hypocrisy. While Beijing-linked networks and state media outlets like CGTN are pushing toolkits to warn Americans that data centers are environmental hazards that just have to be paused, the Chinese government's domestic policy is the exact opposite. They are actively subsidizing up to 50% of the energy costs for their own domestic AI data center operators. They're slashing the very regulatory hurdles that their digital propaganda is encouraging Americans to enact. Basically, they want us to hit the brakes while they slam on the gas. In the zero-sum race for global AI dominance, creating friction and stalling American infrastructure provides a massive strategic advantage to foreign rivals. If you think this is all just harmless online chatter, look at how terrifyingly fast this pipeline turns digital noise into federal law. On December 8, 2025, a coalition published an open letter demanding a national halt on new data centers. Exactly 107 days later, the AI Data Center Moratorium Act was introduced in Congress to freeze construction nationwide. Just a month after that, in April 2026, the U.S. Senate convened a panel to discuss the risks of AI. Astoundingly, 2 of the 4 experts invited to advise the Senate on slowing down American computing were researchers affiliated with the Chinese government. In just over 3 months, 107 days total, foreign operatives had successfully planted their policy goals directly onto a U.S. Senate platform. So, how do we fix this? How do communities actually protect themselves? Local environmental concerns absolutely must be resolved fairly, but that can only happen if the debate is protected from foreign psychological operations. The best defense we have is radical transparency. Policy experts are calling for the strict enforcement of the Foreign Agents Registration Act, or FARA. Lawmakers need to aggressively track digital ad spending, and state policymakers must ensure full transparency by requiring local advocacy groups to disclose their dark money funding. But really, the defense starts at your local town hall. Communities must demand to see the faces behind the screens. If 1,000 online comments oppose a data center, but no one actually shows up to the municipal meeting, that is your giant red flag right there. It's all about verifying local presence before accepting a digital consensus. Which brings us to our final thought for this explainer. The next time you see a sudden viral uproar in your local Facebook group about a new tech facility or a perfectly packaged toolkit demanding an immediate infrastructure freeze, you really have to ask yourself, who is actually shaping the debate in your community? Are you hearing the authentic voices of your neighbors concerned about the local water supply, or are you just reading the output of a 5,000-account botnet managed from halfway across the world? Look for the copy-paste phrasing, check the account histories, and demand transparency. In an era where the truth can be drowned out by a distributed denial of truth, critical thinking isn't just a good practice, it's for sure our best defense. Thanks for joining me today, and keep asking the tough questions.